Three, two, one. What is happening, guys? This is Logan Robinson from Here the Spear, presented to you by Noel Game Day. We are here prime time, 8:35 on Wednesday nights now. And to blow it up, start off with the Wednesday nights, we are welcoming on 2013 Lou Groza Award winner, Roberto Aguayo. My man, how you doing? Good to have you.
What's up, guys? No, glad to be on. This is exciting.
Absolutely, man. First off, I'm a big, the 2013 year, that was huge. That's when we actually started covering Florida State. So that year was impressive. I mean, we'll get into a little bit later on, but it is nice to have you on and reach out. I know that you've got a lot of stuff going on that you're working on, a lot of interviews that I've seen you're doing. And I think it's awesome, and you're getting a lot of good coverage on it too. But tell us about what you're doing. We'll talk about it a little bit later. You worked a little bit with current kicker Ryan Fitzgerald, but talk about your academy, what you're doing, and helping out a lot of these youngins.
Definitely, yeah. I started my academy about 2 years ago. I felt the demand was there. I had parents reach out to me and saying, "Hey, can you help my son?" Kids on Instagram reaching out, saying, take a look at my swing. How can I get better? want to be like you. Break records, win Grozas. So I was like, all right, I'll create my own academy. Do it on the side, kind of help guys out, and then worked with a couple guys privately, one-on-one, and then COVID hit. I was gonna do a camp, and then COVID hit. Then I got into the corporate world, so then I put that on the back burner. But now that I have the opportunity to really focus on that again, I wanted to do a camp, and the best time was the day before the Notre Dame game, because I know it's going to be tough with season starting and middle school, high school football, Pop Warner football, but really an opportunity to showcase what my academy is about, but really put up the digital platform that I can work with kids one-on-one over digitally on the platform. So that's exciting, and I'm excited to roll this out and here in the next 2 weeks.
And you said that's going to be at Florida High, Dustin, and your alumni there, Florida High over
Yeah.
there. And what time is that going to be at?
Registration begins at 8:30, and camp will start at 9, and then it'll end at 3. It's a full day camp. Lunch is going to be available. A lot of Q&A, a lot of talks on the mental game. It's not just going to be all outside kicking the whole time. So more about how to develop you as a complete specialist, as a complete kicker, long snapper and punter. So I'm excited.
So if you're a kicker, punter, be there. That's a place to be, and it's
Definitely.
Perfect timing. Labor Day weekend, and you've got Florida State versus Notre Dame the next day. So if you're in town, Perfect timing.
Definitely. You'll be kicking on some quality fields out there.
That's for sure. I've been out there. That's nice. That's nice stuff out there.
It is. Florida High. I went to trials here in town, so we beat them in our spring game. So I don't have anything against them.
That's false.
Go ahead, D-Lou.
I thought you were next. Yeah, Roberto, I was just going to ask you, what was it like getting to play under Jimbo Fisher throughout your career at Florida State? What was he like, both on the field and off the field?
He's let's say he's elite. You going into college, I mean, you're 18 years old still. You need your head coach is basically like a father figure. You're still a kid, right? And he knew how to get guys going when they needed to. He knew when to hold back, and he would always say, "I want you to play to your best potential." Right? I know when you're not excelling at what you're able to. So he would tell you and say, like, "Hey, you're not doing as good. You're not playing as good." And sometimes it would kind of hurt you and be like, wow, like my own coach said that. But that's why I feel like that's why we were the way we were. We were good. And great coach. Looking back at it, I've been around a bunch of coaches in my career, and he's definitely the best.
When you say he's the toughest coach you've been around, you've been around in the NFL, in various spots, but I was able to go and spend some time with both the little Fishers with Ethan and also Trey. So I got to see Jimbo behind the scenes and how he would talk to Jameis a few times in the offices. But he had really, stern coach, and I guess you really liked that, how he was, being truthful to you.
Being truthful, very stern. You kind of there's different styles of coaching. Some are more laid back, but to me, he was laid back when he needed to be, but he's more of a stern coach. But you need that when you're that age. You need someone, at least for me, someone to be there, hold you accountable. But yeah, I mean, he was like that all the time in meetings and everything on the practice field. I mean, yeah, you guys, a lot of the fans would never be on the practice field, and he would rip into you. I mean, all the coaches. That's why I feel like we were so good.
Mm-hmm. Going into 2013 along with 2014, we'll start off with 2013 first, but how was it with that whole season in the locker room? What was the vibe there? Because we've heard so many stories about the leaders there. You had Timmy Jernigan, of course, Jameis Winston's in there, Telvin Smith, James Wilder Jr. Tell us about how that locker room felt, because we got to hear so many cool things about it. But what was the locker room behind the scenes?
Well, it really started back, I want to say, maybe 2010 with the Christian Ponder, EJ Manuel. Those guys started setting the tone, and that's when Telvin was like a freshman, seeing it with those guys. And then I remember when I was there my true freshman year, Bjorn Warner. I was 18, he was like 21, 22. I felt like he was the leader that year in 2012, along with Lonnie Pryor, those guys, we were just talking about him, Dustin Hopkins. And then that led into that 13 year where just the guys you mentioned, the leadership was there. And at that time, to me, I thought, well, this is how every team this is how every team is ran. Yes, we have leaders, but not until you look back and then being a part of other teams where you're like, you just feel like this is not a championship team. Like, I know I've been a part of one, and now I know like this isn't it. It starts with the leadership. It starts with the coaches, then it starts with the leaders, them holding you accountable, and really it's not having a cancer on the team. And a cancer is like one guy that isn't doing well, or because it'll affect the rest of the team. Because once someone isn't doing the right job, or isn't is slacking off, is loafing off, not going to workouts, not going to tutoring, that starts creeping in. And once you have one, it's easy for the whole team to start to gravitate toward that guy, and that's what will bring a championship team down. But that year we didn't have any of that. Everyone was on the same page, and we were rolling.
And you just mentioned Dustin Hopkins, and obviously he, along with yourself, you guys are two of the best kickers in Florida State history. So during that redshirt year in 2012, getting to sit behind him, how much would you say that helped you throughout your career, just getting to learn from him for a year?
I would say that was a big key to my success, because I remember coming in my freshman year, and it's like a deer in the headlights. You're just like, okay, well, I'm playing football and I'm also at a university. I gotta, make sure I'm getting to my right classes on time. It's just a lot of that is overwhelming. And to me, I look at it as being a specialist or being a quarterback, like especially going into the league. If you really look at it, these quarterbacks that get drafted in the first round, and the guys that sit behind a year and learn and get the speed of the game, get the playbook down, they end up succeeding. You're Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. I mean, I can name off a whole list, but I feel like that's the same way how I was behind Dustin. I watched what he did. I saw how he approached the game. I saw when he warmed up, what he did for recovery, cold tubs, prehab and rehab and everything. All that goes into it, and that's what the fan or the people on the outside don't see. So now, when you look at a true freshman and you look at a redshirt freshman coming in, you can see like, okay, he's had a year to adjust and get ready for the game. And I feel like that was monumental in at my time at FSU.
I want to ask about that 2013 season. There were some people who thought it'd be a little bit of a drop off, after Dustin left. You mentioned, how good of a kicker he was, but you came in and had one of the best seasons of all time of any kicker. I don't want to say were you surprised by that, or were you surprised by the way that season went for you?
Not really. Looking back at it, I was just having fun. I remember that year when I redshirted, I traveled with the team and everything. And as the season started ending, people were like, "Oh, are you gonna wear the golden shoes? Are you gonna keep Dustin's tradition? Keep rocking the golden shoes?" I was like, "No, that was Dustin's thing. I'm gonna bring a new era. It's gonna be Roberto Aguayo." And I was excited when I ended up getting my shot, and I knew I was ready. I felt confident. I felt ready, but at the same time, I was just having fun. It was just like me. I don't know if like it was the environment or if it was my teammates or whatnot, but it was just comfortable going out there and kicking. And give a lot of credit to Kason Beatty and Phil Dumar, my holder and long snapper. Being a great unit helped a lot. But yeah, man, it wasn't until really when I missed my first kick at Wake Forest. I think it was my 12th kick, and I was 11 for 11 going into the game, and I missed my first kick, and that's when I was really like, whoa, this is my first miss in college football, and it wasn't even that hard of a kick. But I was like, okay, well, now, now time to tighten up, and let's bounce back, and kept the rest of the season smooth. And before you know it, I'm a Groza finalist, and it was. I mean, the rest is history.
It was. There's a question on here from Patrick Beck on YouTube asking you, Roberto. Would love to hear Roberto's thoughts on the new trend of Aussie kickers and punters being recruited by college teams.
That's a good question, Patrick. Yeah. You know what? I think probably 10, 15 years ago, that was unheard of. Now in the NFL, you see a couple of Aussie kickers, and I think that's the new generation of punting. Because once a guy has these different kicks in his tool bag, that's just more of a prep that the special teams coach has to prep on this kick, and you don't know what kick you're going to get, and you become more of a weapon in special teams. And I think personally, for me, if I was a special teams coach, I would want one of those guys, because eventually they're going to see how the different styles of kicks they can kick. And eventually, right now in the NFL, it's mostly end over end, spiral, straight kicks. But you've seen some guys do these Aussie kicks. I've been around some punters that do some interesting boomerang kicks, and it's impressive seeing it live, where the returner just doesn't know where to go. All the returners know how to catch a normal punt. They see an nose end or end over spiral, they know it's going left. If it's a duck and they didn't hit it good, it's going right. So these returners, especially in the NFL, are smart. They know, but they haven't seen these new styles of kicks, especially a lot in the college game. But I think it's going to be a good weapon to have if you have one of those Aussie punters on your team.
Clint's commented on here. Is there another brother? I got another Aguayo that can play for Florida State anytime.
No,
that's a wrap.
It ended at Ricky.
That's a wrap.
I got that question asked a lot, like especially my parents. My parents at games would get that asked a lot, like, "Hey, do you have another one that's younger that can come?" No, unfortunately.
That's a wrap on that, on the Aguayos. I was going to ask you, Roberto, going to the 2013 national championship game, kind of take us through that, because I think for kickers, I don't know as much, but I think it's really into a mental game there. But tell us how your preparation went into that. What was that environment for you as a kicker? Because that's huge. I mean, I was there. That environment didn't feel real. Being there, you're all the way across the country, and Pasadena. Auburn was
in the best bowl game.
Yeah,
Rose
beautiful. It
Bowl.
was beautiful. The sunset, gorgeous. All fan bases were fantastic. Both of them were. But take us through you as a kicker and what your mental state has to be in that type of situation.
I remember going back. We travel out there a week early. During practices in Tallahassee in December, I was kicking well. But I remember when I got out there, I don't know if it was like the practice area where we were, but I wasn't as consistent during practice. And I remember I'm like, whoa, I'm not on my game right now. I'm missing a couple kicks. But then I sat down and I was like, okay, mentally, like I've won a Groza. In games, I've only missed one kick. You're gonna have bad practices. Sometimes there's a lot of times where I had bad pregame warmups where I've went 7 for 10, 6 for 10. But it's always on to the next kick. And going into the game, I just forgot about practice. I forgot about that week and just moved forward. You're in the game. And I felt like once I got to the game, it was kind of just you got immersed in it. I would always immerse myself in like, okay, this is where I'm at. But then when kickoff would start, it would be like, all right, shut it down. You're just here to kick, right? Mm-hmm. The pressure is going to golf when you get back to Tallahassee. Like, what are you going to hit on hole 1 at Southwood? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, you guys still on?
Yeah, no, we're here. You're just on full screen. We put you on the full screen now. It's a dynamic.
But no, yeah. So then when I got into the game, it was like, all right, you know what I mean? Don't make it more than what it really is, because at the end of the day, it's 11 on 11 on a 120-yard field with 2 uprights that measure the same. Now it's just go and have fun and kick. So in the moment, I try to make it as less of a game that we were in. And once it ended, then I was like, okay, we just won a national championship game. But that's how I called myself during that game. And ended up, going 2 for 2, which was clutch because we won by 3.
Yeah, not too bad.
So Kermit's touchdown, that's one of the best plays, in the last, I think, 15, 20 years of college football. Because just the moment and the way that it just changed the game. Being a special teams guy, did you had to be excited, but what were your thoughts when you saw him, house that kick and, there was just a few minutes left in the game?
Well, yeah.
Did you feel it was over then, or were you like, all right, this ain't over yet?
So to me, like, yes, I watched the score and I was like, okay, we're losing, but I didn't want to catch myself too much in how the game was being played, whatever, because I knew like my time's going to be called. If I got to make a kick, I have to make it because we're down. So we need the points, right? So, I would just go on my bike or I would just sit down. Everyone was just like, I remember Coach Trickett getting the line, getting them ready. You got to do this, you got to change this. But like you try to separate yourself from that. And then all of a sudden, it was against my buddy Cody Parkey. I'm good buddies with Cody, and he kicked off, and Kermit returned it, and all of a sudden you see him going, and all of a sudden you look, and there's not that many guys, and Kermit's one of the fastest guys in college football at the time, if not the fastest, and he takes it to the house, and I'm like, we got ourselves a ball game here, and it's cool because I'll go and watch the national championship game. I'll rerun it probably like twice a year and just sit back and relive the memories, or like, what was I doing there? Oh, I remember I was doing this, or I was getting Gatorade or Powerade. Can't say Gatorade. Powerade.
Yeah, can't say no. Odell's gonna get on you.
Yeah,
Odell's gonna come in here.
But no, after that kickoff, that I think that turned the game, and then Carlos Williams fake punt.
Mm-hmm. Los.
Yeah,
that was a pivotal play.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people, you always got the Kermit, you got the Jameis to KB, but that play right there, and that's not what Jimbo. That's not him as a coach. Usually, that's very
No.
rare. That's going to come out, and it came out on the grand stage in the
At the
national
right time.
championship. Yep.
And I remember we had practiced it, but we had practiced it all year, but we had never used it. We didn't really need to.
Yeah,
I remember when they called the play on the sidelines, I was like, "Oh my gosh! Like, this is probably." I think that was my first ever fake punt, and probably still through my whole FSU career, that was probably the only fake punt we ever called. And you always kind of get nervous because you're like, "Will we execute? Will we jump? Will we false start? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it started with Phil. He snapped it perfectly. Kaysen did the fake, and Carlos got the yardage we needed. First down, boom.
This is a question from Dan real quick. We'll run through a few of these, asking someone that you looked up to, who their favorite player was. Who would that be?
Someone who I looked up to was kicker-wise. Well, I mean, I guess kicker-wise, definitely Graham Gano. And then when I was there, Dustin. Graham Gano, liked his swing, the way he, aesthetically swung. It was very efficient. Dustin, obviously, what he accomplished, I was like, he's doing something right. So, I got to see what he's doing and kind of try to emulate that. Guys from Florida State that I looked up to was, I remember when I was little, like Chris Ricks. I just, he was, I don't know, like he was cool. Good quarterback. But as kickers, I would say those two guys that I looked up to.
This is an interesting one here from Clint. Have you ever considered being a special teams coach?
No, I've gotten that request or that question from a couple of people. I think, I could be one, and I think I would be a good one. Maybe later down the road, I'm gonna try to work on my academy and start that and help guys that way. But definitely, I've learned so much being a part of the game. I've learned so much being in special teams meeting rooms, seeing the different schemes that different coaches run, seeing what works best. And I would catch myself sometimes in meeting rooms where I'm like, you know what? If this guy ended up blocking this way and this guy took this guy, I think this would be a really awesome play. So I have dabbled in thinking about being a special teams coach. Maybe later down the road, we'll see.
So I wanted to ask, you ended up declaring early for the 2016 NFL draft, obviously got drafted. And then that same year, your brother Ricky came in and kind of took over your place as a starting kicker at Florida State, continued that trend on for the next 4 years. So, 7 straight years of an Aguayo starting at kicker for Florida State. But my question is, if you would have came back for your senior season, how do you think that kicking battle with your brother would have gone? Who would have won? Ricky started off that season really hot, came out, went 6 out of 6 against Ole Miss in that comeback victory. So just what do you think about that competition?
Honestly, we've thought about it. We've talked about it too. That would have been fun, but I think it would have been the competition would have been fun, and we definitely would have had battles out on the field. I'd have definitely told Coach Fisher, "Hey, Coach, let's rattle Ricky. Let's get him some pressure." Because I remember when I was 18 coming in, you feel young, but no, I would have done it for him to get that pressure, get that excitement going. But it would have been fun because I would have been able to show him the ropes and kind of just basically my role when I was with Dustin, right?
Mm-hmm.
And as I left and him coming in, I know it was tough for him coming from high school, 18, and then you're starting and you have to replace not only your brother, but one of the best kickers in college football history. You know what I mean? So I knew he had a lot on his plate and it was tough, and he would call me and, I would help him. And, I would tell him, "Hey man, no matter where you would have went, even if you would have went somewhere else, Auburn, Tennessee, wherever, you would have carried the Aguayo name on your back. People would have known who you were. So, yes, there's a lot of pressure, but it's good pressure. And, I was there for him. But it would have been a different story. I mean, maybe a lot more records would have been broken. It would have been cool to be there with my brother for sure.
Yeah.
I want to ask, 2014 was not fun as a fan, just with the, getting down 24-7, but the team always battled back. So what was that year like going through that, coming off 2013, being one of the greatest teams of all time? And then 2014 was still a very talented team, still made it to the college football playoff. But something just didn't seem to click that season. What were your thoughts on how that season went?
So I think we came off of that 13 year. We were successful. We were great. We lost a couple good leaders, a couple good guys, but we knew we had some returning, and most of the guys returning, and we could do it again. But I think we got, at least this is what I think, got caught up in, like, we won a national championship. We're good, got a little bit maybe too cocky, and we knew at the end of the day we could come out with a victory, so we would always start slow. And I remember Coach Fisher, told us, don't start slow. But eventually we would be there, down 14-0, down. I mean, the Louisville game, we were down like 21-3. But we ended up somehow coming back and winning. And when it's like that, eventually you're gonna get caught. And we got caught in that Rose Bowl against Mariota. And I remember because it was that streak, the 29 game win streak.
Yep.
And we were winning, and it just became kind of a like, it's Louisville, we're gonna win. It's Duke or whoever, we'll get by. We'll end up squeezing it by, we'll win. And it eventually it caught up to us against Oregon, and we got beat. And sometimes you need losses like that to humble you and be like, hey man, anyone can beat you at any time. So but that was a definitely a stressful year for not only us but the fans.
I wanted to bring it up. It sucks, but we have to. The Georgia Tech game, kind of run us through that. That was tough. Florida State fans, my dad was in attendance there, and he, I believe, was in the end zone where they had brought it back. And of course, you got the announcer was just losing his mind, just in love that Florida State was going to lose this game. But kind of go through that experience, because you, like you said, you had your ups and then there was downs, and at the your time at Florida State, I think it's interesting to hear about.
So I'm definitely on the Georgia Tech highlight reel for sure. But
that might be the biggest thing.
I became a meme that day. I mean, I was a GIF on Twitter. To look back at it, it was funny, but so in that moment, Georgia Tech was a tough place to play. Those guys got rowdy for it wasn't that big of a stadium, but they got rowdy. And it's 17-7, or is it 17-17 or 14-14? I don't remember. We were tied. And to me, I'm like, all right, let's get in field goal range. The closer we can get me, the better, obviously. And then I was like, all right, the worst of the worst, I missed the kick. We go into overtime. The best, I make it, walk off, game winner, hoorah, hoorah, we win. Never thought what happened was going to happen. So I never had a kick blocked. So I go out there, the wind's a little bit into my face, right to left, to 57-yard field goal. So I was like, okay, if I hit it normal, it might get caught up. And to me, I was like, I don't want to kick six. What happened to Bama? Mm-hmm. I don't want that. So because I'm pretty sure they had a returner back there. So I was like, all right, I'm going to hit it a little bit more higher on the ball, and hit it a little bit lower to get that trajectory. When I hit it, I thought I hit it well. I was like, probably inside, left, upright. It's going to track. I look up, ball's not in the air. People are going crazy. I'm like, what's going on? And next thing you know, I see the ball. So that someone tipped it and it went up, and then he catches it. And I'm like, never had practiced this. This was just like,
yeah.
He starts taking it. I start pursuing. I don't do these drills. I'm not a safety. I'm not a linebacker. I thought I was pretty athletic. That play, unfortunately, told me you don't know how to pursue right. And he ended up just making a little quick cut, and boom. To be honest, I was just like, dang, I don't know what's more embarrassing, being a helicopter on TV because of missed a tackle or missing this field goal and losing a game. I was just like, what? Walking to the locker room, it was just like that whole stadium went crazy, and I was just probably one of the lowest moments of my college career for sure. But hey, man, anything can happen in college football. Like, it's crazy. But now looking back, I mean, it's definitely a good learning moment, a good teaching moment it'll be a high. I'm sure coaches have played this highlight tape for other teams to, hey, prepare for this because this might happen. So, but yeah.
I think a lot of Florida State fans were surprised that the kick was blocked. Maybe not necessarily you make the kick. I just sat there and said on my TV, like I was just surprised that the whole play happened, but more also that the kick was blocked. Like I never expected that.
I know, and I had never had a kick blocked. And the only way I thought someone would block it would be off the ends, but with the operation, it would never happen. I had a great field goal line, field goal unit that, like Coach Trigger would say, that bite the bullet. They would always bite the bullet, and I knew they were never going to come from the sides. But then when we rewatched film, this dude got up there in the middle, and if you time it perfectly. They knew it was a long field goal, so I might have to hit it a little bit lower. I didn't hit it that low, but he got a finger on it. That's all it takes.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you, Roberto, we are sponsored by Hobbit, Bar and Grill here in Tallahassee. And supposedly I was told that you've been there a few times. Uh-oh. Am I muted? Oh, can you hear me now? Oh, I might be losing him, actually, on his end.
All right, you cut out. All right.
Oh, there we go. Now it's back. I was told that so we're sponsored by Hobbit Bar and Grill here in Tallahassee, and heard that at least the owner told me that you were there a few times over there on the location near Doak. Do you have a special sauce that you go with the wings? Like, you got the Garnet Gold, got the Carolina Gold.
Hobbit, remind me where that's at. There's so many new restaurants now.
Pensacola. So it was around when you were there. It's not a new one. It was, let's see. I believe it's off of Pensacola Street.
It was by the old Gold's Gym in like a plaza off Pensacola Street.
They had I'm trying to think here. They said Sherry, the owner there, was saying that you, along with a lot of the other players too, were in there having a good time, and they all have wings. So I was just wondering if you had a special wing sauce or any kind overall that you like the most on your wings. A very important question here. This is the most important question.
Drum roll.
Well, we debate because I'm a boneless guy. I don't I don't like to, sit there and have to fight my food, man. I just want to eat it and go. Yeah.
Carolina Gold.
Carolina Gold. I'm right there with you on Carolina Gold. That's
That's a good pick.
It is. And real quick, well, now that Nate brought it up, boneless or bone in? This is really important.
I think I'm gonna go bone in.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's not really a wing. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Thank you.
The comments are gonna love that one.
Yeah. I know. That sadly will probably be the biggest thing out of this.
So, I want to ask about the draft process.
Yep.
Going into that, did you have an idea Tampa was going to take you that high?
So,
or were you still kind of, taken aback by that?
So my agent told me I was going to either be taken between the 2nd or the 4th. So I was like, okay. Never knew Tampa was going to take me. They never spoke to me during the whole process of that year getting drafted. The only time I had contact with them was when their special teams coach at Pro Day at FSU. After I did my Pro Day, after I did my kickoffs, kicks, he brought me to the side and said, "Hey, can you kick 2 onside kicks?" I was like, "Sure." He's like, kick a end over a double hop and then kick another type. I forget what he said. And he was like, all right, thanks, Roberto. Talk to you later. And that was it. So I was like, okay, cool. He just wanted 2 onside kicks, whatever. And they never talked to me after that until I got the phone call that they were trading up. And I knew when I got the phone call and it was an area code for Tampa, I was like, it's probably the Bucks. So
yeah.
But it was cool. I mean, I didn't really want to get caught up in the process because it's easy to get like anxious and be like, where am I going? What city am I going? I was like, this is God's plan. God's in control. I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, Dallas needs a kicker, or, Minnesota is might get a kicker, right? I was just like, whatever happens, happens. When I get the call, boom, it's going to happen eventually. So we'll wait and see. And, that's how it happened.
But when you were going through that process, did you have an idea where you may go? Was one team, 2 teams talking to you more than the others?
Yeah, I mean, you probably had an idea, but Connor Barth was on the team, and he was doing decently, right? You never thought like, oh, they're going to draft a kicker for sure. So Tampa was never like, okay, they need a kicker. But you thought like maybe 4 or 5 teams might make a move. But then I was like, well, if I'm going to sit here and think like, oh, these 5 teams are going to be ones that pick, and then I get picked by someone else, then it's going to be like, well, that was a waste of time. So I was like, whatever happens, happens. And like, that's what my agents would say. Roberto, we could be thinking about these 5 teams, but at the end of the day, something wild could happen and you're somewhere else. So you can never predict where really you're going to end up being taken.
I was going to mention on here, don't want to keep you on here too long, but to talk about the current state of Florida State and where you think it's headed. I don't know if you've had any kind of interactions with Mike Norvell, but also we can talk a little bit about, Fitzgerald, also Growth House, and the Aussie. You say it, Dustin, the Aussie from down under. Do it with your accent, please. Embarrass
the punter from down under.
Yes.
Yes. So kind of talk about, the current state of Florida State, where you think it's headed, because
that's awful.
So yeah, current state. I've met Coach Norvell. Great guy. I remember when it was announced that he was going to be our coach, just the energy he has. I would see the videos and everything. And then when I got the chance to meet him in person, it was awesome. It was great. I felt the vibes, a lot of the similar vibes of what Coach Fisher had. And he's younger, but he knows, what you want when you're with him, and you know what you're going to get. And unfortunately last year, I feel like COVID kind of hindered his, what he wanted to do with all the protocols and everything and people meeting virtually. But I think he's done a great job this spring and getting the guys rolling. And I talk a lot with the special teams unit there with Fitz, Mastramo, Garrett Murray, and the rest of those guys. And they say it's changing. It's night and day. And it's exciting. It's exciting. And those guys are going to have a great year this year. So don't be surprised if, we go 10-2, 11-1. So
careful.
Whoa. Let me tweet it real quick. I'm going to Twitter right now.
I would be surprised, but also, you got to be realistic. That's at the high end. Be realistic. Anything 8-4, 7-5, like that would be, you know what I mean? Like that's not bad at all. And it's gonna, take a couple of years, just like how Coach Fisher, when he came in and did his thing and got us. It took him a couple of years to get us to where we were. But I'm excited for them, that whole coaching staff. It's gonna be good for FSU, and I'm excited for week 1.
Yeah. I guess you'll be in attendance.
Yes.
For that one.
Yes.
That is going to be a wild night.
Yeah, a couple former players are coming that I know, so it'll be exciting for sure.
I think it's going to be a competitive game.
Yeah.
Hope
so. I think the only way we'll end up losing is if we just shoot ourselves in the foot. Make those mistakes, the false starts, the offsides. If we can dial those in and not get those penalties, not get those unsportsmanlike conducts, I think we set ourselves good for the fourth quarter and have ourselves a showdown.
And speaking of the opponent, Notre Dame, I mean, what do you remember about that 2014 game with one of the craziest atmospheres besides Oklahoma in 2012?
I know, yeah. So yeah, all the highlights they keep playing are the ones from that 2014 year. They were a good team, man. Tough. Never back down. Everett Golson was their quarterback. They're just a team that comes ready to play. And to me, I wouldn't be, oh, they're Notre Dame and they're going to come ready to play. And I know we'll be ready to play. And a lot of it is going to have to do with that environment. That Doak has to be packed. The war chant going on full blast, because that rattles opponents. I mean, I remember I'm playing in the NFL, guys that I would meet, they're like, dude, man, I hated playing in Doak because y'all do that, this thing. They're like, man, that thing, y'all get loud and we can't hear anything. It's just like, it's tough playing there. So it affects those guys for sure. So I think us being rowdy, affecting them, rattling them is gonna be key. But no, I remember that game. Remember the pick that they ran on us. Oh my gosh! Yeah. I remember when they scored, I was like, no. But then the pick happened and we ended up winning. So it's all good.
Brian Kelly's always got something up his sleeve. Yeah. It just didn't seem to get away with it there.
So yeah. So thank God.
Brian Kelly. Exactly.
But Brian Kelly's an elite scumbag. So he's one of the top 5 scumbags of all time in college football. So yeah. I was happy to see that call reverse.
Come back.
I think all of Doak was absolutely. But yeah, anybody else have anything more for Roberto? I've got him on here past 30 minutes.
You're good, guys. Hey, man, I'm always down to chat.
But no, man, I think this was a phenomenal interview. And I think, moving forward would love to have you on too, and maybe preview a game in the future too.
Definitely, yeah.
I think that would be really fun. And, I want you to talk a little bit too more where we can find the link and more information to your camp, because that's only now, that's next weekend. So it's coming up soon.
Definitely. Yes. So the link to register is in my bio on Instagram. Go on my website, rakickingacademy.com. You'll find all the information there if you want to DM me directly. But more information will be coming up on my website. And then excited for this fall on the digital platform. That's going to be exciting. So, excited to get that rolling, and excited for this fall season for the Noles too.
Absolutely, man. Roberto, from all of us here, definitely appreciate you coming on here for about 45 minutes and talking some Noles and everything, absolutely. Man. It should be a fun season ahead, and it was definitely fantastic. I've always thought about having you on here, so it was definitely a privilege to get you on here, man.
Yeah, I'll probably see you guys that Notre Dame weekend. I'll probably see you guys at the game for sure.
Yeah, I'll try not to be so intoxicated. Don't come near me if I'm.
It's all good.
Right now, I'm nice and relaxed. So, but but for real, yeah. If we definitely run by each other, definitely have to say hey. But definitely, thanks for coming on here, man.
Definitely, thank you guys. Y'all have a good night.
Thank you. You too, Roberto.
Bye.
So sweet deal. That was a great interview, man. I've been always thinking about having him on, and it's great to hear from a specialist of that 2013 national championship team, and the mentality he had to have during that game, because I know I was sweating, already nervous, and I didn't even play on the friggin' field at all.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we haven't really had a special teams player or a kicker on the podcast before, so I think just getting to hear that insight into how much of a mental game it is for kickers as well as physical was also pretty cool.
Yep, exactly. No.
And he handled the Georgia Tech question well. So
yeah, and I'm glad we asked it. Gotta ask. Sometimes everything.
He's pretty high on Florida State this season, guys.
Wow. Just a tad. I think we all were like, "Whoa!"
I know, but 11-1. Hell, I take it all day.
Yeah,
who wouldn't?
FSU goes 11-1. They're gonna have a top 3 class. You shut it
down. I would think so. We'd be doing about 4 shows a week at that pace. We have 500 people on here watching.
11-1 FSU's top 3 class. So go and call that now.
Yeah, exactly. Let me run through a little ad read here from our guys at Proud 90, always supporting us on here. And then we're going to go through quick hitters, which will include some guys hitting the transfer portal. We'll talk a little bit of the scrimmage too, the alliance, but the main part of this, we'll be giving our record predictions on here. So look forward to doing that in just a few. But first off, I want to talk about Proud 90. We were wearing them last week. All of us were on here. We scared Lonnie Pryor because we were all in our colorful polos. But, are you sick and tired of the same old boring golf polo? then you need to head over to proud90.com and check out some of the absolutely outrageous designs, which is true. I can give them that. Proud 90 Golf has to offer. Extremely lightweight, extremely comfortable, and Proud 90 guarantees you'll get at least one compliment every time you wear one of their polos out in public. Perfect for bachelor parties, spicing up a boring day at the office, or just having a few beers with the boys out on the course. Comfortable and fun designs for every occasion. Get up to $75 off right now. They got a big time Labor Day weekend sale going on. $75 off right now with their early access Labor Day sale. Only available for a limited time, so head over there right now, guys, proud90.com, and upgrade your polo game now before it's too late. And I want to mention here, it was just announced today, Proud 90 and Mackenzie Milton are partners. So I guess we're kind of partnering with Mackenzie Milton now, right? We're family a little bit.
Can you put some emotion into your ad read?
I'm trying to. I also don't want to miss out anything there. You're going to do next week's. We're going to have Dustin do next week.
Emphasize on some things and change your voice a little bit.
You're going to do it next week, and everybody can vote on who should do the ad reads moving forward. That's what we'll do. I like that. I got to spice it up a little bit. But yeah, Proud 90, thank you as always, supporting us and sponsoring the show. Polos are amazing. I've worn them out. It feels good definitely out here. It's freaking 95 degrees and humid.
You don't have one on right now.
I don't have one on right now. No, I don't. Sadly. I do. I need to wear the other one that they send. They are very comfortable. Let's run through some quick hitters, gentlemen, before we get the record predictions. Brandon Moore has hit the transfer portal, guys. Obviously, he's transferred from UCF. Good friends with Mackenzie Milton. He also suffered a pretty bad leg injury, too, during his time at UCF. He transfers. He was, getting into the rotation here from a fall camp, and we got to see him play, I thought, pretty well, at least in the spring, D-Lou, when we saw him. But Brandon Moore has officially entered that transfer portal. And, everybody's going to think, what's the reason there? And, it just seems like maybe some personal things that he's going through. But, I don't think it's too much of a miss here for Florida State. They've got the depth, but I think they'll be all right.
I think it's more just like you said, a personal thing. I don't think it has anything necessarily to do with the coaching staff and the fit at Florida State. I just think at the time it worked out for him, but coming into the season, I don't think he was really going to compete for a lot of playing time. So I can understand trying to get in somewhere. As you come back from that knee injury, that it was, it was pretty severe. He hasn't played in 2 years, so he was getting some NFL buzz before he got hurt. So he's trying to make it back. So he's got to get to a place where he can get on the field pretty quickly and show what he's got.
Yeah, like you said, he's got one season of eligibility remaining, if I'm correct. So it's really important that he finds a school where he can start, and if not start, then play, a ton of reps as a reserve. And, he made some flashes in the spring. I was actually pretty impressed, and I didn't think he was going to be a starter for Florida State this upcoming season, but thought he could play a role in that defensive backfield. And it just seems like it didn't work out.
Another name to note on here, which was a big time conversation on Twitter because it was just dramatic all throughout the afternoon. But this one with FSU defensive end Josh Griffiths plans on entering the transfer portal. He put out a note today, but it really started earlier. There was a few outlets reporting, and from the SIDs, Florida State told him that he's no longer with the program. Then his mom tweets and says, this is completely false, not true. And so that just sparked up everything between the fan base and everybody fighting one another. It's usual FSU Twitter kind of dealio. But, now it is official. Josh Griffiths will no longer be with the football program of Florida State. Everybody's wondering about vaccines and all this kind of stuff. From what I was told to a close source with the situation, it had nothing to do with vaccinations. It's really football related more than anything. So, yeah. Gentlemen, Josh Griffiths no longer with the Florida State football program.
Yeah, and you saw it last year with him coming in as a true freshman. He was a reserve defensive end, sitting in that third, fourth string area. And Florida State, they didn't have a good defensive end room last year, and he still couldn't really fight for a lot of playing time. And that's not an indictment on him. Some true freshmen, it takes longer for them to develop. But then you look at what FSU did over this offseason, completely revamping the defensive end room, bringing in a lot of true freshmen, some transfers. It just seems like he was kind of one of the odd men out in this equation, and it was an uphill battle for him to earn significant playing time at Florida State. I just think he's going to look for another opportunity elsewhere.
I'll choose to not say anything because, some people got upset with my comments about Travis last week. So I'll just say, good luck to the kid, and, Florida State will continue to recruit and fix that position.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been a third-team guy if you're looking at it. First-tier Kier, you've got Jermaine, second-tier McLendon, and you've got Kushney coming in along with, Quashawn Fuller's had a great spring and seems like a pretty decent camp too. He was on that third tier,
Well, plus some of those true freshmen, I think at this point have probably hopped him as well.
Yeah.
So just a lot of competition in that room, and for good reason with how bad they were last year.
Yeah, exactly. Let's jump into some scrimmage stuff, gentlemen. Scrimmage number 2 happened just this last Sunday. It had the whole kind of feeling of a game. They had music. They had warm-ups. They actually got to stay in Doak this entire time. They were under the lights. 4 quarterbacks participated. We didn't hear anything about Mackenzie Milton. J-Trav, from what we saw, no turnovers. Played well. Then you also had Chubba Purdy, who I think is really excelling right now, Nate. We've talked about him quite a bit, but it seems like he's getting into a rhythm now with that quarterback room, getting that offensive down. Because if you think about it, he wasn't here this whole offseason. He's having to build that chemistry with those wide receivers, tight ends, running backs. And it seems like he's starting to get a groove there, which is great to see. Because now, everybody's talking about what's going on with Milton. Who's going to be your pure number 2 if there's something that goes wrong. But yeah, just maybe the quarterback conversation, gentlemen. It seems like Jordan Travis continues to take that lead as a starter against Notre Dame, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, Logan, it's starting to seem like maybe you got all of us. You've been behind it from the beginning that Jordan Travis was going to be the starting quarterback at Notre Dame. And, over the last week and a half, 10 days or so, I've kind of started to agree with you just because of what appears to be some uncertainty with Mackenzie Milton, but obviously nothing confirmed.
Every quarterback on the roster is phenomenal. When you look at that position group, there can be no wrong. Whoever the starting quarterback is, I'm ready to ride out with the Seminoles of FSU.
Oh my God.
But my real answer is that it's great to see that Chubba's getting into a routine. I've said since he arrived on campus that physically gifted, probably the most gifted quarterback that's on the roster. I still think he's going to play a role at Florida State, and he's going to have a say on who's going to be the starter. I haven't lost, my confidence in him. I know there's been some frustration with him off the field and some time with the coaches, and I can understand that. But it's good to see him coming around. It's good to see that Travis is continually improving, and sounds like that. He's been extremely consistent. And then, you have Milton, you have that's the wild card right now, in my opinion, on what happens with the season.
Either Norvell's doing some crazy game planning and just really tricking with Notre Dame and Brian Kelly, or it's actually real that, it really is the Jordan Travis show moving forward. I don't see that. I don't see how that can be, because you've got a quarterback that just got on campus, still understanding, trying to build chemistry, and now you don't see him participate in the second scrimmage, which stinks.
I think that would be a case if he arrived, in the summer, but he's been at Florida State now since January. So I'm not really concerned about the, building that relationship with the wideouts and the tight ends and the running backs, because he's someone that was leading that charge in the offseason. So I'm not really concerned about that. It's just the flow of the game. And we saw in the spring game, he's a gamer. But, you have to be healthy going into that, that first game of the season. And if Travis has been the most consistent and, been the one that's getting the reps and been the one that's getting, the flow of the offense, and that's the route you have to go. So, I'm just excited that, we're a week out. So, whoever's the starter is whoever the starter is. And I'm ready to roll.
Yeah. And I mean, so far, Mike Norvell has stayed pretty coy on the situation, not saying really that one quarterback is ahead of the other. And, honestly, there's not really, I would say, much upside to Florida State naming a starter prior to the Notre Dame game, because it'll just give the Irish, the signal caller to put their focuses on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you should just continue this thing all the way up until kickoff, make them be confused, make them prepare for every scenario, and then hopefully they'll mess something up.
Yeah, why not? Screw with them. Screw with Brian Kelly. Nate loves Brian Kelly, so I think he's on.
Can't wait for next week.
When we preview Notre Dame.
I invited him on, actually. We were emailing earlier today. Me and Brian Kelly.
SIDs over there up there in Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
no, I just go to him directly.
Oh, is that right? Let's note on a few more things here. We already published a YouTube video. Me and Dustin broke down that whole scrimmage. But to note, DJ Williams seems to be making a big time turn there. He had the most impressive night from what we've been told. Physical guy, absolutely trucked someone. Not going to say who, but trucked the guy. A DB, and looked like he was in some good form.
We're all talked about it, so you might as well say who it is.
Norvell said something about it? I guess I missed that. Did I miss it? I might have missed it. If not, it might be in the Discord if you guys aren't in there. But yeah, DJ Williams looked good, and he's trimmed off some body fat too. David Johnson talked about him losing about 15 pounds, so that's a great thing there. And we've heard about Corbin. We've heard about
Deshaun Ward.
Deshaun Ward, thank you. I've talked too much about Deshaun Ward. Yeah, totally. So now you have DJ Williams. That room is massive.
Yeah, they're going to need him, especially, from the 20 going in. I think that's when he's really going to help this team. Good to see he's coming around because, Florida State needs that depth. They ran it all last year, and we know that Norvell's not really necessarily a primary back guy. He likes to rotate and go with the hot hand. So, the more options, the better for the offense.
Yeah, I mean, you've got really 4 capable guys at this point that will all be able to split carries throughout the season. You've also got Corey Wren and some other guys that you can kind of work with as gadget guys. And like you said, Nate, Mike Norvell loves to use his running backs, and I mean, he's got a full stable.
Yeah, no, he does. Andrew Parchment also had a nice he had a slant touchdown from Jordan Travis. To note here, Brian Robinson did not participate once again. The source told me that it was a competitive scrimmage. Offense maybe won overall, but still back and forth. That seems to be the whole theme of this offseason, which is good to hear. Not one side is just completely taking over, but it's been a competitive one. Cushney on the defensive side, Florida State's new defensive end, who's Dustin's very high on, from what I was told, was with second team and was quick off the ball. And he said to keep an eye out for him this upcoming season. And Shyheim Brown, another takeaway for him. That is a young freshman. That will probably be the surprise guy, that surprise young MVP out of the camp. He's going to get in that rotation early on, and I wouldn't be shocked to see him against Notre Dame too. He is playing fantastic right now, but he is the only player that got the takeaway. No quarter or Jordan Travis did not throw an interception at all in this scrimmage either, to note on. But yeah, and Parchment seems to like he's kind of getting into a rhythm here and showing off some explosive things, and it seems about the right timing. He was one of the latest to arrive at Florida State. Worked a lot with Mackenzie Milton along with Jordan Travis. It seems like it's starting to hit that perfect timing for once the season begins. But things are starting to get that rhythm, and now Florida State will begin Notre Dame prep.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what you want to see out of Parchment. You want guys to get better as fall camp goes on. It doesn't matter who's playing the best in the first week. It matters who's playing the best going into game week. And, even earlier this week, there was a couple plays going around on Twitter of him making a highlight catch in the end zone. People were like arguing, was he in, was he out? Either way, like you said, Logan, he came in very late. He's still getting used to the system. He's still getting chemistry down with the quarterbacks, and he's come a long way. And Florida State's going to need him. He's going to play a huge role on that offense this year with kind of, question marks at wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
It has been a very solid progression for Parchment, because early on there were a little bit of concerns about if he can, be the guy that Florida State needs him to be. With drops, running long routes, a little bit of attitude. But a lot of that's changed over the last, especially a week and a half, 2 weeks or so. Things have come together for him. So, Florida State, he's one of the most, I'd say, one of the top 5 important guys for this team for this season. So it's good to see that. And like you said, the timing of it's great, and it's coming together. So Florida State needs that. They need this kid in order for the offense to be able to get the ball down the field.
Noted on Mike Norvell and how he felt after it. From what I was told, and the source told me that felt really good. Norvell was fired up about that scrimmage. He felt like guys were understanding their assignments. Felt like the energy was there, and absolutely loved it. A lot of the people around the team felt like that was the best practice / scrimmage they've had all during fall camp, which is a really, really good sign. It seems like this team is really dialed in. We got until Sunday. We'll see how dialed in and see if that's really real. We can hear all these things, but we can, be there Sunday night. And it could be a whole 180, but there's really good signals and signs coming from this camp, and definitely from that scrimmage last Sunday. So,
yeah, and we've heard it all off season, kind of the positivity coming from the coaching staff, and the players have kind of echoed it as well in interviews, and they've obviously performed up to this point. And it's going to come down to showing it on the field. That's what we need to see. We've heard it. We need to see it.
Yep. Got to see it.
Yeah, I want to see him come out and just punch people in the face, man.
Not literally, though.
On the side.
No, literally, man. Just come out and set the tone, man.
Just punch Brian Kelly in the face.
If a dude comes out and punches Brian Kelly in the face, everyone's gonna love it.
I'm okay if he designates someone. Hey, you just run out, and that's what you just,
let it be Preston Daniel, the walk-on tight end. Let him just go out there and lay somebody out.
Someone that can be tossed.
Does
Trey Marshall still have time? Is he good? Does he still have some time?
Right in his freaking ear hole. Just set the tone right there.
The energy is going to be there. We'll be giving our full preview next week on Hear the Spear, so we'll be dialed into that. Get you guys ready for that game. Let's jump into some other things here, some other quick hitters. The Alliance. So I did a YouTube video on this. There's a press release.
What a joke.
It was a kind of a letdown, and I don't think, I wasn't expecting a whole ton of we'd have a schedule and, maybe a mock draft of what everything would look like. But
I would rather
pretty let down to me. I think it was a letdown.
I'd rather than just take their time, figure out what they want to do, than announce it. I think they rushed into an announcement. All right, guys, we're having an alliance. Great. I would have liked a little bit more time, but I understand you got to get ahead of it because the SEC, the relationship with ESPN owning SEC Network, and then the Longhorn Network is pretty powerful in and of itself, and then you have them joining up with the SEC. I understand kind of the rush of it, but I would have liked to see some more time and a little bit more. I would like to hear some more of what the idea is. Are we going to see Ohio State versus FSU in the regular season? That'd be awesome. I would like to know more moving forward. How the schedule is going to roll out.
Someone mentioned earlier, like what future matchups do we want to look forward to? Like I would love like a home and home with USC or UCLA where we get to play in the Rose Bowl again. I mean, either
Michigan,
one. Michigan go to the Big House again. It's just I would love to go to USC. Go to a game in the Coliseum. I think that'd be a ton of fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be exciting.
Yeah, that's a bucket list trip for me for football. The Rose Bowl is screw Oregon. But
the rematch would be nice. Would be fun. Maybe not this year, but a few years by then. I would go to a stadium up there. I would have a good time. It's pretty in Oregon.
We'll see if any of this even works out, though, because like they were saying at the press conference, they're working under like agreements.
A gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, a gentleman's agreement rather than signed contracts. And we all know how much integrity and how much all these guys are trustworthy. So
I mean, part of it is it's all new
out.
commissioners. Like all the commissioners for these leagues are only in their first or second year.
Mm-hmm.
So they're still figuring things out. But yeah, something a little bit more formal or with more details would have been nice.
Yeah, no.
Or just wait until there's something that's on like pen to paper. Like, what are we doing here?
I'm really interested to see what happens with the Big 12. Because
they got left out.
They're about to get Big Easted. They're about to be out of here.
Hanging on
I'm
by
interested
a thread.
to see do some of those teams go to the SEC? Do some of them splinter off and become part of this alliance? I still think we have to, because there's still some good programs that are in that conference that you talking about getting left out. Oklahoma State, TCU,
Baylor's
those are good,
fantastic basketball.
Yeah, Baylor. Those are really good programs. Not just football, but like you said, Austin. Basketball, baseball, all that kind of stuff. So, I don't think it's done yet with some of those teams. I think they're going to end up somewhere, whether it's SEC or part of this alliance. So,
no, I still think that there's nothing signed at all. I still think the SEC is still looking at teams at the ACC. Looking at Florida State, looking at Clemson. I don't think that's over with. That's why some of these teams aren't going to sign. They're not going to. The president is going to sign to something like this. There's still. SEC wants to poach. They want to make a mega conference, and they would love to have a Florida State program in there, that brand in there. They want to have the Clemson, that competitive edge and brand. Even a Miami, they would love to have. So they're not done yet whatsoever, I don't think. And that's why there's nobody signing anything. So it's just kind of like, woohoo, we're going to make an alliance. I mean, none of this is going to happen anytime soon. Right. But I still think the SEC secretly after a lot of these guys.
Oh, absolutely. They're probably after schools in all three of these conferences. And that's why the conferences are getting together to, try and start something, but we'll see if that actually comes to fruition. And at the same time, depending on if schools can get out of contracts or whatnot, the SEC obviously brings a lot of money.
A lot of money. Would you be fine with Florida State going to the SEC? And this wouldn't happen anytime soon. It would take a few years, but
I was looking at that. The Big Ten conference made more money than the SEC.
The ACC was like fifth, though. Fourth or fifth. I forget what it was.
Yeah, if I could find that chart, I'd put it on here. But, I mean, the money situation is different, but you just got to kind of be ready for that competition. Florida State's not ready entirely yet for that. They will be, hopefully, in a few years. But, the SEC, I think, is definitely after a few of these schools, gentlemen.
Yeah, so the school payout. So the Big Ten last year made $768.9 million, SEC $728.9, Pac-12 $533.8, ACC $496.7 million, Big 12 $409 million. The payouts for the Big Ten were $54.3 million per school, SEC $45.5, Big 12 there was a range of 37 to 40.5. Pac-12 33.6, and the ACC was last at 30.9 to around 37 million. So, the Big Ten, they, those farmers, they look, they're committed to that northern style of sports and football. So,
it's just Big Ten. It's just such an old brand. Yeah. Whereas, like outside with the ACC, like everyone still thinks it's the Carolina schools. Like it's that kind of stuff. If they could work out this alliance where we can get the ACC can get some of that Big Ten money, it's huge. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's going to work out that way.
No way. No chance they're going to start splitting money between the conferences.
Be interesting to see.
Yeah, no, it's tricky. It is definitely tricky. We'll see. We'll see how that alliance works. I don't think that was just bleak to start off with. So, anyways. Before we go into record predictions, let's talk a little bit about Manscaped. I don't have it here on me; it's actually in the bathroom. But a beautiful razor, Dustin. We talked about it. No, we didn't. But we did talk about the light. The light actually does come in clutch. I will say that the light on the Manscaped razor works perfectly. Used it wonderful. I won't have to use it for a while because I was able to just hit every place, Nate. It was perfect. It worked out great. And, that we've got a deal going on right now. I'll put it up here on the screen for you guys. If you want to take advantage of it, you guys can use Knowles20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. We've already had one person use it in our Discord. Shout out to Bob. He went ahead and grabbed 20% off and then got some free shipping there using code Knowles20.
Cool,
and you can go down to the description. Go down to the description below.
The cool thing is, you don't have to use it just for your balls. I use it for my face too. So,
Are you washed
at the same time or?
Oh, I didn't use it on my nuts yet, so I used it for my.
Okay, so it can go. Okay, so it can go facial. Okay,
yeah,
that's it's very nice. That's it.
It's versatile.
It's very ergodynamic.
It is.
It holds in the hand well.
It is. So yeah, like I said, down there below, Knowles20. Use that code and 20% off and free shipping, and it helps us out a little bit too. So shout out to those guys over there at Manscaped. All right, gentlemen, it's record prediction time. We're going to go game by game, just like we did last year, and give our thoughts. I wish I had what everybody predicted last year, but let's go ahead and jump into this season. Of course, starting off the season, this is going to be one of the hardest schedules in the country with a young team. Florida State's going to be facing off against Notre Dame next Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time on ABC primetime. The only two teams playing. What are you laughing about, Dustin?
Why'd you have to be like p.m.?
I like it. It's better
7:30 p.m.
I'm trying to hype this up. All right, I'm trying to get my job with like a hype man. Notre Dame, Florida State. We got to start making predictions on this because we'll be previewing the whole game. Who wants it? Who wants it first?
I'll go first. So you got Notre Dame coming in with a transfer quarterback, a true freshman left tackle. They have a great tight end. I forget his name, Myers, I think. They return a really solid running game. Really good offensive line. But they're inexperienced. So, looking at their defense, they have one of the best defensive players in the country in Kyle Hamilton. They're replacing a lot in the front seven. I think this is a very winnable game for FSU. Florida State's going to have to play clean this year. Like we've talked about, I think their first 40 or so are good. They just can't afford injuries. So I think that, this is going to be a competitive game. You look at the point spread, it's only 7 right now. I think it's going to be a competitive game. But I'm very close to picking FSU to upset. I'm not there yet.
Maybe next week.
Maybe next week. But right now,
might change.
Right now, I would say Florida State loses a very close one at home to open the season. I think they come out very competitive. And people need to remember last year Florida State was up 17-14 at the end of the first quarter, and they were playing very well until if I remember correctly, a couple of injuries, and then Florida State couldn't stop the running game for Notre Dame, and that's going to be the key in this one. Is can Florida State's defensive line and the linebackers just be much better and more sound in the run game? So,
yeah, and I mean Go ahead, Austin.
I think we're all going to have very similar thoughts with Notre Dame's inexperienced, but Florida State has to show us something.
Correct.
On the field for us to be like, this is a game that I think they'll win. I think there's a chance. There's absolutely a chance, especially with all the Bobby news the last few weeks. Florida State's going to want to go out and really prove something. Show, hey, last year, yeah, we sucked, but we're back. We'll be fine. But until they actually show us something, I'm not going to predict them to win a game like this. I think they'll lose by a field goal or a touchdown, something like that.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, we're expecting the atmosphere to be crazy, and this is probably going to be the best home game of the season, one of the best home games of the season. Obviously, the coaching staff, they're trying to get every important recruit they can in the stands to watch FSU take on Notre Dame. So this is a huge game, a huge opportunity for Florida State to start off the season right, which is something they haven't done the past couple of years. And yeah, like you said, Austin, I mean, it's just tough to pick Florida State because of what we've seen in recent history. Obviously, Notre Dame coming in with Kyron Williams, who absolutely diced FSU up last year on the ground. And Nate, to your point, they are replacing 4 starters on that offensive line and with the transfer quarterback. So maybe that chemistry isn't fully in sync yet, and it's something Florida State can take advantage of. I really think on defense, it's going to come down to putting as much pressure as possible on Jack Cohn because, in some of the practice footage that I've seen come out of Notre Dame, it seems like he does struggle a good bit whenever he's getting pressured in the pocket. Maybe that's one way that FSU can generate a couple turnovers. And on the other side of the ball, for the offense, this will be Notre Dame is replacing their defensive coordinator from last year. They've got a new guy taking over. So I'm just hoping, that chemistry isn't on the same page yet, and having a new guy coming in this game, Florida State can do some things on offense and take advantage of it. But yeah, in the end, I'm going to go with Notre Dame in a close one, probably something like 31-28 in that range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll be doing our score prediction for Notre Dame next week. But yeah, I agree. Y'all, said the right things. I think Florida State's going to have to get after that quarterback and try to make them feel uneasy. Jermaine Johnson has to have a big game. I think. I was on Mark Rogers' show and had Brian on that covers Notre Dame for Sports Illustrated over there, and he was talking about how Jermaine Johnson, that's what they're worried about right now. They're worried about that left side, and if they're sending Jermaine Johnson off there, how is that going to affect Cohn during that game? And so I think Florida State is going to have to go all out. Adam Fuller is going to have a big game here. I think Norvell and the offense is pretty steady. I think they've got what it takes, but I want to see how this defense is going to light it up and send it. You got to send it on them. Blitz, 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 blitz.
I think it's a good.
Don't let them get into a rhythm.
No, I think it's a good place on the schedule for Notre Dame because they are replacing so much, and Florida State returns a lot. So I think this game is going to be a lot more competitive than people think. So,
So I'm going for.
Even though they're replacing a lot of starters on the offensive line, I mean, they're as good as turning out offensive linemen as any school in the country. Like them replacing starters doesn't worry me, doesn't concern me or make me think Florida State has an advantage. They know how to turn those guys into pros.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess everybody on here is saying loss for.
We're all predicting loss. Okay.
We are. We're all on the same page. They're starting off. All right, let's move on to number 2. This should be pretty easy. Florida State, second game that will be at home once again. They'll be facing the Jacksonville State Gamecocks at 8 p.m. on ACC Network. Come on, Comcast. Let's get the deal going. Let's get it going so the Comcast people can watch it. That's on September 11th.
63-0. Moving on.
63-0.
At least a 4-touchdown win. At least.
I think it's necessary.
I don't think Florida State gets down double digits this year.
I think Florida State blows that team out this year.
Beautiful. I like that. So, gentlemen, we're still all in agreement here on how the season is going to begin. Next one, this will be interesting here. I think it's going to shake up a little bit. Florida State will be facing the Wake Forest Demon Deacons up there in Winston-Salem on September 18th. This will be a 3:30 primetime kickoff for the afternoon on ABC and ESPN. I'll go first. I think this one's going to be up and down. I trust Wake Forest quarterback. I think it's going to be another game for Adam Fuller to be steady with and have to have a game plan ready for that. I'm also interested to see. This is going to be a big game here because Florida State loses to Notre Dame. They beat the Gamecocks. I think they get that energy back. I think it will be competitive. It's really all depending on if Florida State's going to send in. The biggest thing here, the biggest factor on why I think Florida State will win this game is because of Florida State's defensive line. Last year, I wouldn't have been able to trust it, but I do think Florida State's defensive line is going to bring it. There's a lot of fighting there in that depth chart too at defensive end, like we talked about earlier. I think that DN group, and then once you're in your third game there, you kind of know who's fitting best and understanding your assignments well. I think Florida State, a lot of people are 50-50 on this game, but I think Florida State comes away with the win and starts off the season 2-1.
You mean 1-2? Oh wait, 2-1.
Yeah. Oh my God,
that makes sense. All right, sorry.
There you go.
But so Florida State was not a good road team last year, and I mean, as we all know, FSU did not win a game away from home. And the last couple of times they went into Wake Forest, I mean, it's been a dogfight. And I think it's going to be, similar. Traveling into Wake Forest, you're going against Sam Hartman, a 4-year quarterback. Obviously, Dave Clawson has a very good offense. He's a very creative offensive mind and has had a lot of success that other coaches wouldn't have had at Wake Forest. And, I just think it's one of those games where Florida State probably gets caught up, and, I'll take Wake Forest by a touchdown.
I sincerely hope Florida State wins this game, just because I'm going down to Tallahassee next weekend for Notre Dame, obviously, and then Wake Forest is 45 minutes from my house, so obviously I'm going to that one too. I don't want to be 0-2, 3 games in to a season, just watching games live. So I'll say win for my own sanity, but I do agree. I think it's going to be closer than people want because everyone just sees Wake Forest and goes, "Oh God, it's Wake Forest. We can't lose to Wake Forest." But
they're a tough team. Yeah,
they've been a tough competitive team the last few years. They shouldn't really catch anybody off guard now. I just hopefully for my own sanity, Florida State wins.
We're spending too much time on Wake Forest, man. So Wake Forest,
I predicted a loss.
They lost some. Yeah. Okay, so they've also had some injuries this preseason, so I'm going a W. I think it's going to be a 10 to 14 point win.
Okay, so me win, Nate win. Austin, I missed yours. I had to mute the thing for a second. Win. Okay, so Dustin's got the only one here with the loss for Wake Forest. Okay, perfect. Let's move on here, gentlemen. Let's move over to the Louisville Cardinals. This game is going to be held in Doak Campbell Stadium in Tallahassee, September 25th. Time to be announced, but Florida State is going to bring in the Cardinals. Just quick here from me, I think Florida State wins this game.
Louisville's tough to get a read on because Scott Satterfield, I feel like he has such great potential as a coach, but I don't know. I'm going to say win, but we'll see how I'm feeling headed into that game week and see how Louisville looks in the first few games. Obviously, they have to replace a lot too, but I don't know. Something about that game could get tricky.
I think
Louisville's a tougher game. I think Louisville's a tougher game than Wake Forest for sure. They bring back the quarterback. Excuse me. Their defense is very questionable, and I think that's the difference in the game. I think Florida State was a close one. I'm a fan of Satterfield too, so you just don't know what you're going to get with Louisville. I think he's a good enough coach to get them super competitive. So I think that's going to be a really tight game. But I think Florida State pulls it out.
Yeah, this is a Louisville team that replaces a lot on offense. If I'm correct, I believe they lost their top 2 receivers and their top 2 rushers. So, this is a game I think it's going to be a lot different from last year. We saw Florida State go down to Louisville and get blown out. I think things change this year. Florida State comes away with a double-digit win.
If they can take care of there won't be no more Tutu Atwell. God almighty, that was hard to watch, to say the least. Are you kidding me? He sliced and diced that entire defense. That was brutal to watch last year. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that defense quit that game, so.
No, yeah, they had no idea what to do. You got Brownlee on Tutu, and then you don't have Asante Samuel Jr., your best corner, on Tutu Atwell. Don't understand that. That's another. We've already talked enough about that. But that was idiotic. One of the 5 silliest things we saw there on the defense during that season. Up next, October 2nd. Yeah, it was terrible. So October 2nd, the Syracuse Oranges are coming in town, gentlemen.
It's just the orange. It's not the oranges.
Well,
it's a single orange.
There's multiple oranges coming in town, right? Or is it just one orange?
It's just one giant collective orange.
Dang. Gosh, crap. Well,
juicy.
This game, I don't think is going to. Okay. Thank you. Oh, yeah, you've been waiting for that moment. But, yeah, Florida State versus Syracuse. Gentlemen, what are we thinking?
Win. Don't need to spend much time on it.
No, I don't think so either.
My question is, has there been a coach that's lost their luster as quick as Dino Babers, man? I think it's a fair question to see if is he even the coach when this game rolls around. I think he's one of the ones that are on the super hot seat going into the season. So, Yeah, I think this is an easy win for Florida State.
Yeah, I think Florida State takes care of business in this one. Even though FSU is down right now, I think Syracuse is down even more.
Mm-hmm.
And Syracuse has a weird opening to the schedule. Like to Nate's point, like they start out at Ohio, then play Rutgers, Albany, and then Liberty, which you can't sleep on Liberty. It's a weird schedule, but you could, if they lose any of those games, you could easily see Babers not being the coach anymore. So it's an interesting schedule before they play Florida State.
Yeah, Rutgers isn't going to be an easy game with Shiano, and he's a really good coach. So,
yeah, very smart.
So, I think Syracuse is definitely going to be one of the worst teams in the conference this year.
Yep. And here we go. This is definitely going to be a primetime matchup, probably a 3:30, even maybe an evening one here. But this is going to be Florida State's game against North Carolina. The Tar Heels are coming into the season ranked at number 10. It's October 9th. They'll be playing up there in Chapel Hill. This one's interested me. I think Florida State at this point, I'm going to go ahead and mark them as the second loss of the season so far. I think Sam Howell is going to play really good this season. I think I don't think UNC after last year they're going to want to get their revenge. This is up there in Chapel Hill. I just don't see Florida State winning this. I think the defensive line will be better to get this Sam Howell, but still Sam I think is going to be one of those top quarterbacks that will be going in the NFL draft. And this is just a defense that's still kind of working on some things, but I hope this will be at least competitive. And I think, though, the advantage is that if it is really Jordan Travis, I think that game is going to be high points throughout, in my opinion. But I think in the end, the Tar Heels win.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, North Carolina, they lose a lot on offense, but we all know how terrific of a quarterback Sam Howell is, and he's the type of guy that can make the guys around him even better. That said, UNC is very average on defense, in my opinion. So I think Florida State, it's going to be important for them to come in with a good offensive game plan, because this is one where I feel like it's probably going to be a shootout. Both teams are going to have a chance to score a lot of points. I'm just going to go with Sam Howell in the end because, like you said, Logan, UNC, this game is going to be penciled on their schedule. They want revenge on Florida State after last year, and I think that they're going to get it. I'll take UNC by 10.
Okay.
I think, the conference itself is kind of lucky about the timing with Sam Howell coming when he has in the way that they're recruiting on defense. They've done a tremendous job recruiting on defense the last 2 years. Their front four within 2 years is going to be one of the best in the country. And I would say top three. It would not be unrealistic. They have a linebacker in Reneria Dilworth, who on Conquer Talk we had as our number one player in the country. This guy is a tackling machine. Runs a laser time 4.3. He's 8'6", 210 as a linebacker. It just is going to be phenomenal in college. But like you said, Dustin, the defense is not great, and they're very young. They have a lot of skill. I think offensively they lost a lot, but I still think Sam Howell is the best quarterback in the country. I think too it's a highly competitive, high-scoring game, but I think North Carolina pulls it out. So I think that'll be FSU's second loss of the season.
They're going to be motivated, extremely motivated after that loss last year in Tallahassee. A game that really they only got smacked the first half and charged our second half. Yeah, charged our second half, and really gave Florida State a scare, thinking they might have blown that chance. But they're going to have this circled. They're going to be crossing their T's, dotting their I's, heading into that week. But on the flip side, Mac Brown has still never beaten Florida State as a head coach, and he is a Florida State grad. So, I kind of want to, I kind of want to throw it out there, but I'm still going to take UNC. I'm not going to go crazy.
Mm-hmm. Well, say last year.
I just think
they have too much.
Sam Howell takes that step. Sam Howell takes that next step this year.
This is his money year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got to.
Another game I will be at in person. So hopefully we don't lose, but we probably will.
Yeah, we've had some bad luck with you coming to games and such.
All right.
We need to restrict
Everyone's
you.
You're
had
going
bad
to 3
luck.
games this year, really?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what happens when you
Austin,
sacrifice for the
Austin.
team.
Okay.
Austin, this is what will change your luck is if you interview recruits.
No, it's not happening. I knew you were saying it. I tried to cut you off. It's not happening.
I'm telling you.
It'll change the whole game.
Yeah.
Well, that puts us halfway.
For FSU.
Yeah, that puts us halfway through the predictions. I think right now you guys are all at 4-2, and I'm at 3-3.
Okay, I like this because up next is a bye week on October 16th, and then back in action. UMass and Walt Bell coming down
60.
I want FSU to score 100. I hope that FSU does. FSU should not take the foot off the gas, and they should just, Walt Bell.
Outside of the obvious games like Florida, Clemson, whatever, nothing would make me happier than a spiked baseball. It just shutting him out. I would be so happy.
I don't know, guys. UMass, they're obviously a very talented team. There's some real underdogs.
They won a game last year.
I think they might have won one game. I remember I bet on them one time and they won. I was like, wow.
Walt Bell's one of the worst coaches in the country. So,
and UMass is also a hard place to win football games. So I think Florida State, they're going to win this one by 40 plus.
I'm glad they're playing it in Doak then. Be worried about playing up there in Massachusetts. That'd be a struggle. Yeah, I think Florida State wins this game.
Yeah.
Don't think it'll be on prime time though. Don't think so.
No.
Oh man, here's a good one here. This is where it really gets fun, gentlemen. Saturday on October 30th, the night before Halloween, Florida State will be playing in Death Valley against the Clemson Tigers. They're coming in as number 3 in the country. Gentlemen, Dabo Swinney, Nate's one of his top 3 favorite coaches in all of sports, will be there facing against Mike Norvell. They didn't face each other last year. Got to remember that.
No, I hope coming into this game that Dabo gets chlamydia and misses the game. Nothing will make me feel any better than just this scumbag piece of crap. TV evangelist coach.
Why chlamydia?
That's just what popped in my head first. Because I don't want to wish long-term harm on anyone, especially after COVID and going through that. But I wouldn't mind for it to burn a little bit for him when he pees. So, but I mean,
couldn't just wish for him to have like a kidney stone or something.
That's awful.
Yeah,
I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. That is horrible. But for me, I just want to see a better game. There's an obvious talent difference. A vast discrepancy right now. I just want to see FSU be competitive. That game should be the standard bearer game for the conference, and it has been since 2016. And Florida State's gotten just drug against Clemson, so I would like to see them come out and be competitive, but it's going to be a loss.
As long as it's closer than the last time we played there, which was, if you need a refresher, was 45-14, and it never even felt that close. As long as it's closer than that, I'll be somewhat satisfied. Clemson's obviously got too much talent. They've had too much talent for years now, going on, 3/4 of a decade.
I do think they take a drop off at quarterback. Obviously, Lawrence, but I don't think ukulele. How we say is ukulele. What pronounce his fucking name?
I say the same thing.
It is going to be on that level. They still, despite all their success, the running backs aren't very deep. They have a lot of skill at wide receiver. It's a little improving, but I think defensively, they have the best, assistant coach in the country, and Brett Venables. I think he's the best defensive coordinator in the country. So, it's going to be it's a tough team, man. They just have it rolling right now. So,
Yeah, Clemson will lose this game, but Florida State will lose. But I just wanted to be some competition in there, and I do think Florida State Clemson is kind of came down a little bit. Florida State has a long ways to go, but Clemson isn't going to have that kind of year. I don't think. I think they're going to have some close games. I don't think they. I think they have about two losses, maybe three losses overall in the entire season. I think so.
Nah.
Overall,
Man, you're crazy.
Including both.
Clemson.
Who's going to challenge them in the ACC?
Yes, Clemson is still the most talented team
I'm
in
a
weak ACC. So
I'm adding a little playoff loss. I think there's going to be some upsets.
I think right now you look at Georgia and North Carolina as the two teams that can compete with Clemson right now on their schedule.
The season. Yeah. And I like that Georgia's starting off the season first. Like, I think later on in the season, Dabo would have them, but starting off the season against Georgia, I think it's a little bit more interesting there. I think it favors Georgia, in my opinion. I don't trust Kirby Smart later on in the season. I think
Clemson won last time that they were in this scenario.
I don't trust Kirby Smart, period.
Yeah, well, no, not in a lot of ways. So we all agree.
Yeah, I think Florida State, this is probably their largest loss of the season. I think they lose by 3+ touchdowns.
Dang, okay.
Sorry.
Depressing. I'm just kidding. Let's see. Next up, the NC State Wolfpack on November 6th. And Doak Campbell Stadium in-house, baby. Always good to see the Wolfpack. It's better than going up to Raleigh. But they're going to come down here to Florida State Mike Norvell. I can't stand NC State fans. They're irritating, so I hope Florida State wins this. I do think they will be winning this game. But I think a close game, though. For some reason, close, but I think for some reason after the Clemson game, they'll be a little worn out. It's gonna be a tough game. This 5-game stretch right here is tough, in my opinion. NC State might be a sneaky one in here out of all of those.
Yeah, for me to get to the win-loss number I want, I have to either predict a loss against NC State or Miami, and I refuse to have us lose to Miami, so I'm gonna have us lose to NC State here. That's my only analysis.
I think that Florida State get some retribution from last year. I agree with Logan. I think it's going to be a tight game. Not necessarily because North Carolina State's a great team. I just think it's coming off Clemson. It's in a tough stretch. It just works out on the schedule. I just think it's just going to be a tough game for FSU. But I think that they pull out a 30-21, 30-24 type game.
Yeah, if Florida State is going to make a bowl game this season, I think this is a game that they're going to need to win. So, I'm hoping once we get to this point of the season, all of those scenarios will kind of start unfolding themselves, and the coaching staff will focus on how important this game ends up being. I think Florida State wins by a possession or two.
Stan's asking in here, would you rather shock the world and beat Clemson or beat Miami and UF? I think the answer there is Miami and UF by a mile.
Miami, UF.
You guys aren't going to like to see my predictions in a couple games.
No. Great. We might be in agreement here, but yeah, I think Florida State wins this game, but close, just like Nate said. Next up is Miami Hurricanes rivalry here. I actually ran a poll on YouTube, so we'll be able to see what the fans also think about this one. But this is Saturday on November 13th. In-house in Doak. They're coming into the season number 14. Derek King, he should be fully healthy, really good to go. He's been practicing, but by then he'll be in true form with the season. Nate, you hate the Miami Hurricanes, so I'm going to let you have the floor first. What is your prediction on this game going down?
So, last year I predicted 82-0.
That didn't go very well.
It did not go very well. That was just not a great game for FSU. So Florida State's going to have Norvell. I think you look at Miami. Derek King's coming off an ACL injury. Their offensive line, it's okay, not great. They're not awful. Their running backs are very solid. They have some question marks at the skill spots. You look at their defense; they lose their two top defensive ends. and they haven't recruited very well there. They've done more through the transfer portal, and you look inside at their defensive line, not spectacular. They don't blow me away at the second level, and their secondary. They get Tyreek Stevenson from Georgia, but the guy's been okay. Everyone's making a big, to do. He comes over from Georgia. He's been okay. A 5-star number 2 cornerback in the country. It's been, I think they're stronger in the secondary than they are in the front 7. I look at this game and I think this is going to be a statement game for Florida State. So I'm going to say, realistically, I think Florida State wins the game. I'm not as high on Miami this year. I think it's a higher scoring, 65-10 type game for Florida State.
Nate, they were playing the war chant.
I must say it's tough. They're preparing for us 3 months out in advance.
Yeah,
that's a lot of preparation.
So
it's tough.
That tells me everything I need to know about this coaching staff is that the vaginas are so swollen heading into Alabama that they're focused on Florida State. So 65-10, Florida State.
I thought it was absolutely hilarious that they're facing Alabama, most arguably the best team in the country, and they're playing the war chant at practice. Like, can Normanville not be in their head enough? Holy smokes, that's pathetic. That is just sad.
Nate kind of summed up everything I wanted to say. So, Florida State win.
Yeah.
If this game was in September, I would have no problem picking Florida State to win, but I just think De'Aaron King, he's going to have had enough time to get comfortable after coming back from that injury, and obviously they've got a good running back and Jalen Knighton, who we've seen make some plays against Florida State in the past. And to your point, Nate, I'm not really impressed with their defense at all. They lose like 2 or 3 of their top rushers off the edge. They've got Bubba Bolden back there in that secondary. I think he could turn out to be a really good player for them. And, I just think Florida State, I think they're 1 year behind Miami right now. They're 1 year from winning this game. So I think Miami pulls it out in a close one.
Yeah. So serious question. I joke around with my, my prediction. I hate Miami, but you see it every year. Guys come back from knee injuries, and that first year they are still. Yes. They're not all there.
We saw it with Keyshawn Helton last year.
Yep, and here's a guy who depends on the athleticism part, being a smaller quarterback, getting around in the pocket, getting outside the pocket. I think that while he may physically, I still think that someone who's been through 3 knee injuries, the mental part is the hardest thing to get over. And I think that realistically, that has a legitimate impact on how De'Aaron King plays this year. If we're talking 2 years out, yeah, but this is, really it's less than a year after the knee injury. So I think that's going to play a role. And I think that will impact on the offense and how he plays.
Mm-hmm. I think it'll hinder it too a little bit.
And I completely agree. That's why I said if it was in September, I'm picking a dub. But I think by November, he'll have had enough time to get through it enough to where he performs well enough to beat FSU. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm sadly picking Miami.
I don't want to predict this.
I don't want to predict it either, but I'm about to have like Florida State going 8. Just like Roberto was saying earlier, I'm about to have them going friggin' 10-2. I got to chill out on the wins. But anyways, I'm predicting Florida State to lose this one, sadly. I think it'll be a riled up environment in Tallahassee and all that kind of jazz. I feel like there's always a Miami tight end that just takes advantage of Florida State's linebackers. And as we know, I'm still worried about the linebacker core going into this season. I'm worried about a lot of things at linebacker. I don't know. I've heard about Lundy. That's about it. Where's Emmett Rice at? So by then you'll have Emmett Rice, but still a little worrisome. So I'm picking Florida State to lose this one, sadly. The next game up here on the docket will be the Boston College Eagles. They're going to be playing up there in Chestnut Hill on November 20th. I'm actually supposed to be up there with D-Lou for this game if everything works out. and this pandemic can chill a little bit. But yeah, this is going to be, I think, a steady. This is, Miami, Boston College, and Florida up next. But gentlemen, what do you guys think for Boston College Eagles?
I don't get the Boston College hype, but kind of in order to get to the win losses, I think Florida State gets to. I just think coming off of the stretch, I think that Jeff Hatley is a good coach. I think that Boston College, is a well-coached team. They returned their quarterback who had a really solid year last year. I just think based on the schedule, I think it's just a really ugly late season loss for FSU.
Yeah, at least it's not a Friday night game. Like, at least we have that going for us. But it's still Boston in November.
Yeah.
Who knows about the weather?
Yeah, and kind of same thing. Like, to get to the win-loss record, I'm gonna have this as a loss. I think Boston College could surprise some people. Like Nate said, their coach is a pretty talented coach. I think he could do some things up there. Where they're at this year, we'll see. But I also have this one being a loss.
I don't expect him to be at Boston College very long. I think he gets a bigger job, but I just think where it is on the schedule. I think Boston College is always a tough team. Physically, I just think that it's just an ugly game for FSU.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I think old friend Jaden Lars Woodby gets his revenge on Florida State.
Ooh, man, it's not gonna. Fans aren't gonna be happy about that.
If he's able to recover a fumble, if he's able to recover a fumble, I think we're all gonna lose it.
Oh man,
I think that the coaching staff will know where to target the defense at in the passing game. So I'm not really concerned about Jaden Lars Woodby.
No, Aaron says they got Woodby. They have to win, right?
5 stars.
Nate gets into another thing with the players, brother.
What'd you predict, Logan?
I'm predicting Florida State to lose this game too. Sadly, it stinks. He's kind of going on a little roll here. The last game, the win is against NC State.
These last 5 games are brutal.
So it's a tough stretch, man. I just don't think. I don't know. I think against the Miami game, I don't know. I think these kind of games are not really toss-ups, but I think Florida State's 1 year behind Miami, and then Boston College, I think it's the coach. But I think the battle between Norvell and him will be fantastic to watch.
I think both Miami and Boston College are in that 50 to 55% win share, so 0.5, 0.55. I'm Florida State's going to win one of those 2 games.
Island boys being nice and optimistic on here and letting us know that this is not last year. All we needed was a full off season, so it's good to have the optimism in here.
Yeah, for sure.
We've had too much optimism the last few years ending the season.
Yeah, I'm not leaving anything for chances this year. Sorry.
Like I said in the Notre Dame part, until they show us something, like I'm not going to predict this to win these kind of games.
Yeah,
this could change throughout the season on game weeks, but as of now, got to see it.
This is early.
I think at this point in the season is when the lack of depth really starts to stand out, because there's going to be injuries. There's going to be, bruises, sprain. There's going to be players banged up. And I think this is when you see Florida State's true lack of depth start to kind of hurt them a little bit at this time of the season.
And to finish off the season, Mr. Dan Mullen himself, Florida State will be traveling down to Gainesville for this one on November 27th. Good old Gainesville. Florida Gators are coming into the season ranked number 13, guys. But it's going to be finally, a lot of these, you didn't get to see Dabo versus Norvell. Now you get to see Dan Mullen versus Norvell. It's going to be fun. What do you guys think for Norvell's first matchup with the Gators? Does he get a rivalry win this year, or does it just continue to where Florida State loses both? What happens? This is an interesting one.
Go ahead, Nate.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
As much as I hate that goofy cornball who wears Jordan trainers and khaki shorts that go below his knees and makes these dumb TikToks and probably won't ever win an SEC championship. They're a good team. He's a good coach. He's good at progressing players. He may not be the best recruiter, as much as it pains me, they'll probably win. Unless Florida State just absolutely shocks me this year and shows so much more progression than last year. But Florida right now is a better team, as much as it pains me to say. And probably by a couple scores.
I agree. I think it's a winnable game. I don't understand the people who think Emory Jones is going to be a great quarterback. I think that's more indicative of Dan Mullen as a coach. I think he's a great X&O coach. I think he's one of the top 5 X&O coaches in the country. I think he's that good. But he's just a horrible recruiter. And that's what's going to limit his upside at Florida. He's not going to be able to compete with Georgia, LSU, Alabama, et cetera, because he just can't recruit. He's just
and especially with Texas and Oklahoma joining that conference soon.
Yep. So he's a damn good coach. I think that Florida State is 1 to 2 years away from beating that team. So I again, this is a game where I want to see them be competitive because Mullen knows that he can't necessarily compete recruiting wise with this staff. He's got to show it on the field that his recruiting pitch has to be that I can develop you a better team, blah 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 blah. So that's why he put it on FSU a couple years ago, and that's going to be, I think, his avenue. So I just want to see a competitive game, but I think FSU loses to Florida.
Yeah, I think this one, to me, is going to depend on quarterback play along with Florida State's defense. I think Florida State will have the best QB unit there in Gainesville, but I'm not sold after what we saw last year with Adam Fuller. Dan Mullen, I think, will definitely outcoach Fuller in this game unless something changes like a whole 180 from last year. But that's what my worrisome is. I think Norvell, you've got 2 great offensive-minded coaches going at it. It will be another fun matchup there to look at. But, Emory Jones is nothing. I'm not too worried about him. I hope Fuller can take advantage and do some certain things to him and make him feel uneasy because this will be his big rivalry game. But, I just don't trust Adam Fuller enough. So I think Dan Mullen beats him there on that field. So I think my season prediction will end up 6-6 with Florida State losing to UF, but you have a chance at a bowl game. Though. You'll have a chance at a bowl game, which is good. It's nice to have that, but
not for me.
Whoa.
5-7.
Dustin, 5-7.
I'm taking a loss in this game. By the way, I haven't said it yet. I mean, you guys pretty much covered most of the bases.
Yeah.
But I don't think Florida State's going to have enough to beat UF this year. Just like the Miami game, I think they're probably a year behind. But then again, Florida State could shock us throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. Is this Dan Mullen's last year in college football?
I hope not. I hope it kind of ends up like Mike White at Florida and just has an eternal contract of just being good but not great. 9-4 every year, perfect.
Yeah,
fine with me. Just like with Florida basketball, you can go 22-8. That's fine. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
You were saying something.
I got 7-5, and I think that's. I think Florida State ekes it out.
What was that?
Where are your 7-5 from?
I got losing to Notre Dame, Clemson, Carolina, Boston College, Florida.
You predicted a loss to UNC, didn't you?
Yeah, he said that.
You said Carolina.
Notre Dame, Carolina, Clemson, Boston College, Florida.
And then I had a 6-6.
Okay.
I had a 6-6 with losses to Notre Dame, Carolina, Clemson, NC State, Boston College, Florida.
Okay, and then I've got losses to Notre Dame, North Carolina, Clemson, Miami, Boston College, and Florida.
Which, to be fair, 6-6 is a massive improvement from last season.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously it's not the standard, but
you don't need to lose the game. There's games in here that talent-wise you shouldn't be losing, and plus the coaching staff that I think is on a different level than what Willie had. I mean, these games like a Wake Forest. You need to win these games. You can't continue to have Wake Forest be a threat anymore. That used to never be a thing. I used to be like, this is so boring. Why am I going to this game? It's going to be over by the second half. I got to still stay there and cover it. But, that now we're looking at it, and it's a freaking 3:30 primetime afternoon kickoff.
And you can't continue to have road issues like we've had the last few years.
No.
This road schedule is brutal. Like at Wake Forest, whatever. But then you go at UNC, at Clemson, at Boston College, and at Florida. It's kind of tough. But you got to at least show some competitiveness.
Yeah, I think that we can all agree that 7-5, 6-6, 8-4 is not the standard at FSU, but everyone needs to understand just how far FSU has dropped off, and it's part of the evolution of getting back. I think if something happens, you beat Notre Dame, then you can look at 8 wins, and then that's a different story. But this team just doesn't have the depth yet, and I don't think they have necessarily what it takes to get to 9 or 10 wins. But this 2022 class is going to be kind of what sets it up for FSU moving forward. So,
yep,
they got to make a bowl this year. They got to make a bowl.
Yeah, this schedule, I mean, man, it is extremely tough. It does Florida State really no favors throughout the entire season. So, I mean, that goes along with my record, predicting 5-7 with an outside chance, I think, to get to 6-6 and get to a bowl game, depending on how Florida State, plays throughout the season. So we'll just have to see how things work out. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely not the standard, but the last couple of years we've gotten on here and been a little too high on FSU, I think. So it was important to come in here with a realistic outlook tonight. And we all did that except for Nate. Thank you, Nate.
And I mean, you said no favors in the schedule.
Why is 7-5 unrealistic?
I just don't see it happening.
I think you beat Notre Dame.
It's not going to happen. That's why.
What do you say, Austin?
So I think if you beat Notre Dame, I think you can easily get to 7. Because
I think beating Notre Dame, you get
that changes the whole momentum there. That's what I'm saying.
It raises our expectations.
I mean, they're doing whatever for Norvell then. Shit.
It just raises our expectations, raises the momentum. You go beat Notre Dame, that whole city goes insane.
I agree. I think the best case scenario for Florida State is you come out and beat Notre Dame. You beat Jacksonville State, obviously. You go out to Wake and win 1. You beat Louisville and you beat Syracuse, and you're going into UNC 5-0. But that would mean everything has to come together perfectly, and it's just hard for me to see that right now.
I don't disagree. I'm just saying it's not that unrealistic.
Yeah, at some point the football gods are going to ease up on FSU.
Hopefully,
the football
man.
gods got to ease up on Florida State.
We're still getting hated on for the no injury 2013 season. We put all of our luck in one pot there.
God.
And just still paying for it, 8 years later.
That's what happens, man. It will change the whole momentum, though, for that team. A lot of buy-in will happen. If there's still some second thoughts on Norvell in that locker room, that would change a lot. Even if it's a competitive game and it's like where the line is at right now. I mean, it's a touchdown, isn't it? So, looking at that, things are slimming down. And if Florida State is able to just have that be a quote-unquote not going to be a win in the books or anything, but have it be a close, competitive game going into the last bit of the fourth quarter, that locker room, that's some momentum too. You just can't get blown out. If you get blown out, that really is not
that's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. And really, I know you said no favors in the schedule, but at least the last 5 games aren't the first 5 games. At least you have that going for you.
Yeah.
There's a very, 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 very slim outside chance that you go into Clemson 6-1. Very slim.
Mm.
I think it could have been worse. Yeah. Where you just look at it and go, we might be 6-1 going to Clemson. I don't think it happens, but it's nice to think about.
Yeah, it is. Well, gentlemen, I think that's it for the record predictions pod. Got that down. That means we are 1 week. Practically next week, we'll be previewing Florida State versus Notre Dame and dialing in there for you guys. It feels crazy to think we've made it through the off season. It's been all kinds of storylines, guys, up and down, and we'll recap it next week. But what an off season. Craziness. But yeah, record predictions are in for everybody. And Dustin has them being losers and not making a bowl game again. So that stinks. But
I didn't predict that last year, I don't think. I was too high. I was too high on my horse last year.
Stop being high and sober up.
I think last year. I think last year you were 9-3.
No way! No way! You're full of
I think
8-4, maybe.
No, I think
9-3.
Austin and I were 8-4, and Logan was like 11-1.
Yeah,
Stop it. Golly, stay off the weed. Any basketball updates real quick before we get off? This has been a very long episode, as expected.
Yeah,
but any kind of
come on, man.
basketball? It's good content.
Nothing
100 people
basketball.
viewing. Yeah.
Nothing basketball. The only thing I want to say is Heath asked me what jersey I was wearing. Thought it was a Trent Utah jersey. No, it's a Pete Maravich jersey. Went with a classic today. Okay. But no basketball updates.
No basketball updates from Austin. Austin's getting in football form, baby. He's back. This is the most he's talked on the show.
I'm trying. If I could get some time off work.
It's going to be super exciting next Sunday when I drag him to go interview a recruit. It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be hilarious when I'm sitting in basketball practice watching them instead of doing that.
Yeah. Give them the rundown. All right, gentlemen. Thank you so much to our sponsors. Proud90, always shout out to them. Proud90.com, manscaped.com, along with our friends over there at Hobbit. Love them. Definitely appreciate them helping us out. If you guys haven't yet, I suggest join the Patreon, patreon.com/NoleGameDay. It's here on the screen. $2.99 a month. If you go there right now, $2.99 a month, you can join in there. We're in a group chat. I'll be going to the games, doing live updates on here, talking to you guys, telling you who's taking first team reps at quarterback, seeing how the warm-ups are going and everything. I'll be doing that. $2.99 a month, patreon.com/NoleGameDay. Get all your inside news and nuggets.
I want to mention too, the post-game show I'll be doing with Mark Rogers. I'll be doing instant reaction with Steve over from Unconquered Talk. So, we'll have some guests here and there. Logan will pop in. We may have Dustin from time to time, but we'll have some real guests pop in and give their feedback and thoughts on the game. But that's going to be through the Mark Rogers Network.
We'll likely do an instant reaction here too.
The content is. Whew.
Yep.
Content's going to be everywhere. And y'all are going to see,
it'll be good
the content here is about to be rocking game pieces. We got writers meeting this weekend and such. So a lot of stuff coming. Also to note real quick, we have so much stuff to talk about. Travis Hunter, Nate, first game. Thoughts real quick.
How do we not talk about that, man? So, I mean, there's really no more adjectives. There's no more, you can't just say anything else about this kid that hasn't already been said. The kid's just flat dominant. It's what's crazy is that he may be even more dominant in pads than what he is in shorts, and that's crazy to say. So this kid deserves his 1.00 recruit ranking. He's the surefire number one player in the class. He's one of the best players I've ever seen at this stage in their career. And he's coming to FSU, so you should be excited.
Yeah, and that was a heck of a game on Saturday night. I swear it didn't start till like nearly midnight for whatever reason, but regardless, like we were in the Discord hanging out, watching the game, and I mean, that kid is just insane. I mean, it makes no sense. He had 2 easy touchdowns through the air. He had another one that got called back. He threw a touchdown.
Yep.
He got an interception. I think it was 13 catches, 232 yards. I mean, man, it was just the Travis Hunter show all night. Whenever he got on the field, you knew he was going to make a play. And the thing that stood out to me maybe the most was even when they were, I can't remember the team's name off the top of my head, but even when they were kind of blowing them out, handling them late in the game, you saw Travis Hunter on that field continuing to take snaps up until the 2 or 3 minute mark of the game before he finally got pulled. I just think that shows his mentality, his will to want to be out there and go get the dub.
What coach in the right mind is going to single cover him?
It happened too many times during that high school game. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Really, I don't get it, but I've moved past the best player in the last 2 or 3 years. This kid's turning into a generational talent. He's a freak.
He's a freak athlete. And like Dustin said, anywhere you saw him on the field, you were watching him compete. Like, it's just not even fair. He's physical too. I remember him stiff arming a kid and almost think he punched him, but he's just got that dog mentality. And I think it's key there. You note on Delu about him competing throughout the whole game. And that game was over in the fourth quarter easily. And, you know, he stays in there and competes, and that's just who he is. And he throws a friggin' touchdown. I mean, I think the coach is just showing the country about how he can do everything. And it goes to show this kid just doesn't get tired. I think this coach on the broadcast mentioned to the announcers and commentators
exactly what I was going to bring up.
It just does not get tired. He just doesn't get tired. I mean, look at these catches. I mean, I think there was a touchdown too that didn't call. They said it was out of bounds. It his foot like at a smidge out of bounds too, but it was a phenomenal catch though.
I mean, man, through the first 3 quarters, you can probably count the amount of plays he was out of the game on one hand. Like, he was in for the entire game and making plays throughout.
Yeah. So Travis Hunter, that's only one game, and it's crazy to think that we're sitting here. You know, I was on a Friday night sitting here getting ready to watch a high school game. I have not done that really since I was playing high school football. So it's crazy to see he's got that kind of he's got that presence.
Travis Hunter produces
Showtime.
He produces the results and the statistics that a lot of these kids lie about. You know, a lot of these kids kind of falsify their stats, but this kid's putting up that ridiculous just stat lines. You know, kid's on pace for 150 catches and over 2,000 yards. You know, just come on, dude.
Yeah,
like
it is showtime. Just like Stan, it'll be the next prime time. It is showtime. Got everybody watching it, man. Never seen anything like it in the Florida State fan base in a long time. So, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hit that like button. Rate us 5 stars if you want on iTunes. Definitely appreciate it. Thank you also, Roberto Aguayo, for hopping on here. Everybody have a great rest of y'all's week, and we will be previewing Florida State versus Notre Dame next week on the pod. Everybody have a great rest of y'all's week.
Game week.